There's a specific kind of person who checks their bank account on a Tuesday morning and finds more money than they had the night before without answering a single email, without taking a single client call, without doing anything at all while they were asleep. It's not a side hustle. It's not a stock tip. It's a business so boring that nobody at a dinner party has ever asked them a follow-up question about it. I spent the last few months digging through small business data, interviews, and industry reports to find the 10 most unglamorous, most overlooked business models that quietly generate real income with almost no daily involvement once they're running. Some of these are going to bother you a little because you've probably walked past one of these opportunities without ever noticing it was one. Stick around for all 10 because the last one on this list is the one with the lowest effort and the highest ceiling of anything we cover today. Let's start at number 10. Business 10, dumpster rental for construction sites. Every renovation, every demolition, every construction project needs somewhere to throw debris, and almost nobody who isn't already in the industry has ever thought about who owns those dumpsters. Starting cost for a handful of used roll-off containers runs somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000, depending on size and condition. A single container placed on a job site typically rents for $400 to $600 for a 2-week cycle, and a hauling truck can service multiple drop-offs and pickups in a single day. Why doesn't anyone do this? Because it sounds like manual labor, not a business. But the actual owner rarely drives the truck themselves past the first year. They hire a driver, set up standing relationships with 3 or 4 local contractors, and the containers cycle through the same handful of job sites on repeat month after month, without a single sales call needed after the first year of relationship building. The pattern here is one you'll see again. The dirtiest, least appealing part of an industry is usually the least competitive because everyone's attention goes toward the glamorous side of construction and nobody's fighting over who gets to own the trash bins. Business 9, vending machines. You've probably stood in front of one this week and never once thought about who actually owns it. A single machine costs somewhere between $1,500 for a basic snack unit and $4,000 for a card-reading combo machine. Placed in the right location, a gym, a warehouse break room, an auto shop waiting area, a well-stocked machine can net anywhere from $150 to $500 a month in pure profit after restocking costs. The money isn't really in the snacks, it's in the location. A single machine in a mediocre spot barely breaks even. The same machine in a busy warehouse with 200 employees on shift rotations can outperform 4 machines somewhere quiet. Operators who scale past a dozen machines usually hire a part-time route driver to restock on a fixed weekly schedule. And at that point, the owner's actual weekly involvement drops to almost nothing beyond checking a sales report on their phone. What you're really buying when you place a machine isn't a vending unit. You're buying the right to collect money from a spot that was generating exactly $0 a month before you showed up. Business number 8, coin-operated laundromats. This is one of the oldest boring businesses in the country, and the reason it keeps getting reinvented by a new generation of owners every few years is simple. People will always need clean clothes in every economy, in every recession, regardless of what's happening with interest rates or inflation. A small laundromat, the kind tucked into a strip mall nobody thinks twice about, typically generates somewhere between $80,000 and $150,000 a year in gross revenue, with net margins that can land anywhere from 20% to 35% once utilities, minor repairs, and a part-time attendant are factored in. What almost nobody mentions is where the extra margin actually comes from. It's rarely just the washers and dryers anymore. It's the vending machine in the corner, the change machine fee, the folding table service some owners now charge for, all stacked under one roof, one lease, one utility bill, sale. A laundromat has quietly become 3 or 4 small businesses wearing one name on the sign outside.
Business number 7.
Self-storage units. Every city you've ever lived in has more storage facilities than you'd expect, and there's a specific reason for that. New apartment and homes keep getting smaller, but the amount of stuff people accumulate hasn't gone down at all. A small storage facility with 30 to 40 units, built on land that often isn't good for much else, can generate $4,000 to $8,000 a month in combined rent once occupancy stabilizes. The build-out cost is significant upfront, often $150,000 or more, depending on the market, but the ongoing labor required to run it is close to nothing. No employees needed at a small scale. A digital lock system and an online payment portal handle almost the entire operation. Here's the detail most people miss. The fastest growing type of renter isn't a family between moves anymore. It's small online sellers using a 10 by 10 unit as an overflow warehouse because renting real commercial space for a small inventory operation doesn't make financial sense yet. Storage stopped being just about keepsakes. It quietly became infrastructure for an entire generation of small e-commerce sellers.
Business number 6.
Billboard land leasing. This one surprises people every time because it sounds like something only a media company could own. It isn't. You don't need to own the billboard itself or sell the advertising space on it. You need to own or lease long-term the small strip of land underneath it. Advertising companies pay ground rent to place their structure there, often on contracts running 5 to 15 years with built-in annual increase. A single billboard location along a moderately trafficked route can generate $500 to $1,500 a month in ground rent, and the landowner's entire involvement after signing the lease is depositing a check. No maintenance, no sales calls, no tenant issues, because the advertising company handles the structure and the client's renting space on it. The pattern repeats again here. The visible, glamorous part of the industry, the actual advertising, is competitive and expensive to break into. The invisible part underneath it, the land itself, has almost no competition at all because almost nobody thinks to look at a billboard and ask who owns the dirt it's standing on. Business 5. Mobile car wash and detailing fleets. Here's where the list takes a small detour, because this next one isn't just a business model. It's a story about a specific decision that separates the people who scale from the people who stay small forever. A friend of a friend, a guy named Owen, started with a single pressure washer and a folding sign in a grocery store parking lot, charging $25 a car for a basic wash. He did that himself for 18 months and it worked, but it was still just a job with extra steps. The turning point wasn't a new marketing trick. It was the decision to stop doing the washing himself and instead hire 2 part-time workers, buy a second setup, and spend his own time exclusively on landing standing contract with used car dealership that needed every vehicle on the lot detailed weekly before it went up for sale. That single shift from doing the labor to managing the contract took him from clearing about $2,800 a month solo to overseeing 3 crews generating a combined $19,000 a month within 2 years. The pressure washer never changed. The business model around it did. This is the pattern that ties directly back to everything we've already covered. The business itself is never the boring part. The boring part is the decision to stay hands-on long after you could have hired someone else to do the physical work while you focused on the relationships that actually multiply. Business 4. Residential and commercial cleaning contracts. Cleaning gets dismissed constantly, mostly because people picture a single person with a mop bucket, not a business with real margin. A solo operator with 5 to 6 recurring weekly clients typically nets $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Scale that to a small 4-person crew focused on office buildings instead of homes, and monthly revenue can climb into the $20,000 to $35,000 range. With margins between 30% and 45% once supplies and payroll are covered. The actual secret isn't cleaning better than the competition. It's recurrence. A single client paying weekly for a full year is worth dramatically more than 10 one-time jobs, because the second you stop chasing new customers every week, your entire schedule stabilizes and your acquisition costs drop toward zero. Most cleaning businesses that fail don't fail because the work was subpar. They fail because the owner never stopped treating every week like it needed a fresh batch of new clients. Business number 3, ATM machine ownership. This one pairs almost perfectly with the vending machine business from earlier, and if you already have a relationship with a location owner from placing a vending unit, adding an ATM is often just a second conversation, not a second sales process. A single ATM, once placed in a bar, a laundromat, or a corner store with heavy cash-preferring foot traffic, can generate $800 to $2,000 a month in surcharge fees. The owner's job is simply keeping the machine stocked with cash and occasionally handling a service call, both of which are commonly outsourced entirely once an operator has more than 5 or 6 machines running. What makes this business specifically interesting is that it solves a problem that's almost invisible until you notice it. There are entire categories of small businesses, bars, food trucks, small market, where customers regularly need cash and don't have it on hand. You're not selling a product. You're solving a 5-minute inconvenience and getting paid every single time someone experiences it. Business number 2, bookkeeping for small businesses. Here's the pivot away from machines and locations entirely into something almost nobody pictures as a real business: spreadsheet. Every small business owner in the country needs their books kept current, and the overwhelming majority of them actively hate doing it themselves. That's why they pay anywhere from $400 to $1,200 a month to hand it off entirely. 10 clients paying an average of $700 a month is $7,000 a month in recurring revenue, generated from a laptop with no office lease, no employees, and no inventory of any kind. You don't need to be a licensed accountant to serve this specific segment of the market. Small business owners running basic operations mostly need organization, categorization, and someone reliable to hand receipts to at the end of each month, not a complex audit. What you're actually selling isn't a credential, it's the relief of a problem disappearing off someone's plate entirely, month after month, without them having to think about it again. Business number 1, commercial property parking lot. And here's the one. The lowest effort, highest ceiling business on this entire list. The one you should act on if you only take away a single idea from the last 15 minutes. Underused commercial parking lots. The kind attached to an old strip mall or a building with excess paved space nobody's using efficiently can be leased directly, or in some cases purchased outright through local auctions, often at prices far below what the land would cost anywhere near a residential area. A modest lot with 40 to 60 spaces, rented on a mix of monthly permits and daily transient parking near a hospital, a university, or a downtown business district, can generate $3,000 to $10,000 a month depending on location, often through a single part-time attendant or a fully automated payment kiosk that requires no staff at all. Here's why this sits at number 1 instead of anywhere else on the list. There's no inventory to restock, no product to sell, no client relationship to manage beyond collecting a monthly deposit. The asset is the land itself, and land, unlike a business model, doesn't require you to keep proving your value every single month, keep the income flowing. People will always need somewhere to park in every economy, in every city, regardless of what happens to interest rates, inflation, or whatever trend is dominating the business headlines that year. 10 businesses. Almost none of them will ever come up in a conversation at a party, and that's exactly the point. The pattern underneath every single one of these is the same. The least glamorous part of any industry is almost always the least competitive part, because everyone else's attention is locked on to the exciting side, while the boring side quietly collects the money in the background. If any one of these stuck with you, that's usually the sign worth paying attention